there, everybody, and welcome once again to the Video Sports Page. I'm your host and producer, Carl Pratt. Tonight it's edition number 1193. Glad you're along for the program, where the emphasis is on local sports. Now, tonight's opening and some of our segues come from the middle school in the Silver Lake District, where over my shoulder, the Silver Lake girls varsity basketball team is going through their final workout before senior night on Friday. They wrap up the regular season under the direction of Dick Steele. Dick Steele is wrapping up a great career directing Silver Lake basketball. This is his final season, his 26th season directing the Lakers. And a bit later on in our program, I'll be joined by Dick Steele. We'll talk about this year's edition of the Lakers and his long career and all the lives he's touched and all those victories and all those special players. Also, during this week's edition of our show, we'll show you some highlights from the West Plymouth Basketball League as they're about the midway point in the schedule. They have all-star games coming up on Thursday night. And some of our other video tonight will come from the Armstrong Rink in Plymouth, where earlier this week, the Plymouth South Panthers took on the Marshfield Rams. That's always an interesting battle, but for the second time in two meetings, the Marshfield Rams got the Plymouth South Panthers, but Plymouth South, under the direction of Coach Mike McCosh, is still having a very, very good season, and he really enjoys working with these youngsters, as you may have seen during last week's edition of our show when I spent some time with the veteran coach. Well, while we've got a moment, we can show you and talk to you a little bit about some of the highlights that took place earlier this week as far as high school basketball is concerned. Sacred Heart boys had a nice victory this week, and in that game, Eric Strusky turned in a strong performance. He had 32 points and 16 rebounds. Silver Lake, by the way, not Silver Lake, but Sacred Heart, needs to win their final two games to get into the postseason. Their record right now is 8-10. How about the effort by the Pembroke Titans? Earlier this week, the Pembroke Titans, back on Tuesday, went to Silver Lake and eked out a one-point victory, a major upset for the Pembroke Titans, who are a sub-500 team this year, but they knocked off the Silver Lake Lakers 59-58. Leading the way for the Titans in this one was Nick Smith. He threw in 19 points, and Kenny Blazin had a strong game. He had 12 points and 10 rebounds for Pembroke. The Duxbury girls remain undefeated. Duxbury had two more victories this week. Duxbury knocked off Quincy 45-38. In that game, Maddie Smith led the way for Silver Lake with 17 points. Meanwhile, Molly Quilty had 10 points for the Duxbury Green Dragons. Duxbury, by the way, 17-0 overall, 12-0 as far as Patriot League action is concerned. And earlier this week, Duxbury also had another victory, this one coming up against New Bedford. The final count there was 50-21. In that game, Catherine Harrison had 19 points to lead the Duxbury Dragons to the victory. She also had 11 rebounds and 3 block shots. Well, as I mentioned, and as you can tell over my shoulder, there's some activities going on. And earlier today, I had an opportunity to spend some time with veteran coach Dick Steele. Now in his 26th season, he'll have his final senior night on Friday night as the Silver Lake Lakers take on Whitman Hanson. Let's roll the interview I had with Dick Steele earlier today. Well, we appreciate your time, and I don't know if we'll be doing this too many more times, but before we get into your season and your career, we've been doing our show for 25 years, and we've been right along with you, and we appreciate all the cooperation over the years.
Well, we certainly appreciate everything that you guys have done and be able to give the girls basketball program, some good publicity along the time.
Well, obviously it's well-deserving, and once again this year, your team's in the postseason.
Yeah, it's nice to get in, especially last year. We had a tough year. We missed it by one. And to get in this year and my last year is kind of fitting, and looking forward to that last game.
Let's talk about it. You're still a relatively young buck. Does it make you think when you drive here to Silver Lake for practice or a game, wow, this is it?
Yeah, it does. When and I had to come out early in the season to say I wasn't going to come back, because towards the end of the year you want to say, hey, it's not that bad, I'll come back again. But I had to really make a statement and let the people know that I wasn't going to come back, because I'm tired, and I'd like to do a lot of other things. I didn't have the Dick Arrieta move where I wanted to, stay all day and do the X's and O's, and I thought that's what I'd be able to do, but I find myself doing some other things, and so it's not fair to the kids, and myself.
Well, let's talk about it. 26 years is not just one season or two seasons. It's a long time. You've touched a lot of lives.
Yeah, I met some great people along the way, some great coaches, some great college coaches, some great administrators, teachers, and it's all about the kids. That's the biggest thing. We've really put some kids through school and gone on to college and become wonderful young ladies.
Well, it's not only wonderful young ladies, but great basketball players as well. In his 26 years directing the Laker girls varsity program, 20 years you've been in the tournament, including this year. And, you know, in the old days it was 65%, and this year, of course, it's only the 500 mark, but it's still a lot of fun.
Oh, certainly is. And you never know once you get in, you know, what can happen. And that's what we tell the girls. And they've worked really hard at it. And it's a real multitude of kids from freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. And we're carrying 17, and that's not easy to do either.
You've carried, and you've had a lot of good girls that have carried your program. One quickly comes to mind, like Amy King. You had Marsha Strickland, another one, and you've had a lot of good ones along the way.
Oh, certainly, and you know, Marsha Strickland is at top of the heap, and Amy King, just great kids. Not only great basketball players, but just great kids.
Let's talk, if we can, about you. What does Silver Lake basketball mean to you? Because you've coached Silver Lake now in your 26th year. You've coached boys as well, but this is really your staple. This is really your signature.
Well, it means a lot from coaches that I've learned, Jerry Morelli and Dick Arrieta. You really put yourself into it, and you really want to try to kids to not only learn about basketball, but learn about life and how difficult it can be. And everything's not, a bed of roses all the time. And can you bounce back from, the lows and stay on the highs?
And let's talk a little bit, if we can, over the last few years. You've got a brand new gymnasium and brand new Silver Lake school here. You've seen the transformation from the old bandbox to a state-of-the-art gymnasium.
Yeah, we're talking about this whole scene, the middle school and the high school together with the outside facilities. I mean, we're like at a small college when you take a look at this whole thing, and it's great to be able to see that everyone gets to use it, whether it's the taxpayers and the travel teams and the high school teams. It's really worth it.
Well, over our shoulder, the Silver Lake varsity going through their final practice before the final home game of 2013. And boy, when you hear that word final, I'm sure you don't like to hear that.
No, I'm an emotional guy, and I wanted to try to keep this from getting too crazy. And I snuck out last year when I retired from teaching and didn't worry about any kind of a party. But this will be a little bit tough to take tomorrow, and we're still trying to tell the girls it's all about the wins, and that's what we want to try to do tomorrow.
And what about it being senior night? What has this year's group of seniors meant to you?
Well, that's one of the things. We kept a lot of kids, and a lot of them were seniors, and they've gone through the program for 4 years, and they're talent-wise, they work as hard as they possibly can, and it's a nice group to go out on.
And before I let you sneak away, what has this year's edition of the Laker program meant to you? Have they overachieved? Have they been where you thought? What kind of year has it been?
I think we were where we thought we'd be. I would have liked to have a Plymouth North loss by 2 points back, but everything else has pretty much been what I thought it would be. I think a lot of people thought we'd only win 3 or 4 games. So we're at 7 right now. We'd like to grab 2 more if we can.
All right, let's fast forward the clock. My final question: 5 years from now, somebody else will be directing this program, and people may not know Dick Steele, but somebody's going to bring your name up. What would you like people to know about you and the impact and the opportunity you had to coach here?
Well, I think just overall spreading the word of basketball through our programs with the younger kids and the travel basketball, and just being a fair person and trying to just get the kids to know that there is more to life than basketball, and use that as the experience as they go along.
Well, as I mentioned at the start of this interview, coming up on April 4th will be the 25th anniversary of our sports program. We began back on April 4th, 1989, and one of the first coaches we had an opportunity to spend some time with is my guest, Dick Steele, and we've seen you grow. We've seen a lot of your victories. We've seen a lot of your smiles, and we want to thank you for a lot of your time.
It's been a great ride, and hopefully I'll be around, maybe be a sidekick someday.
There you go. All right, Dick Steele joining us this week on the Video Sports Page. We'll continue with more, so stay with us. Well, while we're on the subject of high school basketball, it'll be another varsity doubleheader at Plymouth North High School on Friday at 5 o'clock. It's the girls against Plymouth South, and at 7 o'clock it'll be the boys against South. And that girls matchup should be a dandy. Plymouth South, Plymouth North, and Sandwich all looking for the 2014 Atlantic Coast League Championship. Going into that game, as far as league marks are concerned, Marshfield stands at 9-2. Plymouth South is 9-2, and Plymouth North is 8-2. Plymouth North's destiny is in its own hands. A victory over Plymouth South and another victory next week against Marshfield, and the championship will be theirs. But there's a number of different combinations. One thing is for sure, Coach Dennis Azevedo's basketball team from Plymouth North is playing some very good basketball these days. In fact, if you go back to early December, their record was 2-2. All they've done since that point is rattle off 12 straight victories. And they're the class of the league right now and playing some outstanding basketball. And you know what? They're doing it with defense and even more defense. If you talk to the veteran coach, he talks about his youngsters leaving everything on the court, and some way, somehow, they're putting that time in and coming away with victories. One of their top scorers, top rebounders, and top assist people happens to be a freshman. It's Joey Grassi. Joey leads the team this season with a 14.7 points per game average, 9.5 rebounds, 5 steals, and she hits it 80% from the foul line. The only other player for the Eagles in double figures is senior Megan Wall. She averages 10 points per ball game. The Plymouth North Eagles are going to take on Coach Summer Ivan's team from Plymouth South, who has really skidded of late, and their record right now is 9-8, and they're in danger of not making the postseason. They've got some tough competition ahead. That's 17 games at 9-8. They take on Plymouth North on Friday, and next week they take on Wareham at Wareham, a team that defeated the Panthers earlier this season. Then they take on Weymouth again, a team that defeated Plymouth South by nearly 20 points earlier this week. So these are must-wins right now for the Plymouth South Panthers if they want to get into the postseason. Plymouth South this season being led by a couple of freshmen, I should say a couple of sophomores, Maddie Norris and Tess Harkenrider. But you know what? They're going to leave it all on the court on Friday night, and that'll be a Cap Sports Game of the Week. You can see that Sunday night on these same channels. Not sure of the time just yet, but we're thinking it's going to be somewhere around the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour. We haven't confirmed when we'll air that game. All right, let's take this opportunity to talk a little bit about some high school hockey. Earlier in our program, I told you about the Plymouth South Panthers. They took on Marshfield this week. That was an interesting matchup. In the afternoon at the Armstrong Rink on Tuesday, unfortunately, Marshfield jumped on top 4-0 in the first period and skated away with a 6-3 victory. Still, the Plymouth South Panthers have an outstanding record intact. 13-3-1 overall, 7-3-1 in the Atlantic Coast League. In that matchup against Marshfield, Kevin Elliott, Sean Peckham, and Ian Golson scored the goals for Plymouth South. Let's roll some of the videotape of Plymouth South against Marshfield. Okay, let's continue with this week's edition of the Video Sports Page. We're going to have our second meeting of the season with veteran coach John Blake. He directs the Duxbury boys varsity hockey team. They're having another outstanding season, but after the first 4 games, you wouldn't have said that.
No, we started out slow, and to the kids' credit, they worked at it. We took it one game at a time, and our 10-game win streak was an adamant to them.
And then that winning streak was stopped by Braintree, but since then you defeated Silver Lake, you defeated a good Bridgewater Raynham team. Now this weekend you go down on the Cape to face some good competition.
We do, and this is the tournament that we strive for at the end of the year, every year, where you want to be playing against the best competition because it's going to get us ready for the postseason.
And obviously this tournament coming up isn't the same as the high school postseason tournament, but obviously it gets you ready. It's a great tournament-type atmosphere.
No question. We're going to find out exactly where we're at against the best competition in high school, and we're going to find out what we need to do before the tournament to make sure we have success in the tournament.
All right, back up to what I said right at the top. You were 0-1-3. What were you thinking? You've been coaching for many years. Were you scratching your head? Were you saying, hey, we're missing by a bounce here or a bounce there? What were your thoughts after 4 games?
You were exactly right. We felt like that we just had to stay the course. We felt that we were in most of the games. They were good games. We weren't getting the bounces early on, and just to kind of stay at it and keep working at it.
Let's talk about this Duxbury ice hockey program. Obviously, you're having a terrific season. Friend Weiler's team undefeated after about 15, 16, 17 tries to the ice. I mean, there's a lot of pride in Duxbury with hockey.
We're both very blessed to have a great youth program here in Duxbury that contributes great talent to our program. Both our numbers are up for both the boys and the girls team. And we just want to continue the success.
Well, I ask you each year when I visit with you, any surprises on your team? Tell me about 1 or 2 kids that have really filled some holes for you and you said, wow, we really used him this year.
You know, I think it starts with our goaltender, Tucker Kelly, who's a junior, who last year played at the JV level. And out to our defensemen, we have a couple great senior defensemen in Max Goldner and Tyler Powers. And then up front, we've got 7 of our top 9 forwards are seniors. So it's really a strong senior group.
So if you're going to get it done, you got to get done with this year's group, and next year you go back to being a teacher again rather than a coach. Let me ask you, oftentimes I ask people that move up different levels, whether it's a variety of sports, and they always say it's the speed of the game. Is that the difference from JV to varsity for your goalie?
No question about it. It's just getting him early on accustomed to that speed and that level, and seeing a little bit more pucks than he saw at the JV level. I think he got more and more comfortable as it went along and got more and more confidence.
You talk about getting comfortable. How about for you, if you date back to when you first started coaching as a young guy, now you've been here for so many years, so much success behind you. How much has that aided you when you go out there and you try to instill things to some of these kids? They look at you and they want to wear that Duxbury green jersey and they know you're the coach.
It's a very important thing. We really pride ourselves to run one of the top high school programs in the state. I think we have guys now that come through Duxbury that want to play for Duxbury High School. And that's very important to us, that we keep our kids in town, that they're not traveling out to other junior programs or private schools. And I think there's a kind of a pride in Duxbury to play for your high school team.
Well, as you can tell from our graphic this week on the program, I'm joined by John Blake. He's been directing Duxbury hockey. What's this, your 10th year or at least?
11.
So we're close there. But let me ask you a question here now. What type of team is this year for Duxbury? Is it an overachieving team? Is it a team that lived up to expectations? Is it a veteran team that took a while to get going and they're playing as well as expected? Or what are your thoughts when you think about this group?
I think it's a veteran group. I think it's a group that had some high expectations coming in. We had a lot of success last year with this core group of guys. They were excited to come back as seniors and kind of give it all they got. We got a lot of hockey guys this year, guys that have a passion for the game. The team means a lot to them, and they want their senior year to be a memorable one.
Well, if it's going to be a memorable one, they've got 4 more games left in the regular season, including that tournament on the Cape this weekend, and then they play for real. That's where the postseason comes in with the MIAA, the Super 8, call it what you want. Duxbury's there once again, as it is each and every season. Coach, we got you on the tail end of practice rather than before practice, so we appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You bet. Okay, John Blake joining us this week on our program, edition number 1193 of the Video Sports Page.
Hi, I'm Carlos Pena with Tampa Bay Rays, and you're listening to the show here with Carl Pratt. He's a man. He's known me since I was a little kid over there in Cape Cod when I played for the Wareham Gatemen, and here he is again. 10 years later, still hanging around and putting me on TV. Stay with him.
And there's lots of interest, too, in the West Plymouth Basketball League. That's where we had our cameras earlier this week at Federal Furnace School. We have an opportunity to share with you some junior division action. Well, that'll take care of this week's edition of the Video Sports Page. I've been your host, Carl Pratt. Health and wisdom from the Video Sports Page.